immediately you graduate in those days, a car is waiting for you. I mean, car loan is waiting for you. So in those days, we don't need a visa to go to Britain. You have just want to have your passport, and as a student, passport is free. So you just take your passport. Once you have your money, you can go one Friday and come back on Sunday.
Wow.
So it is in Britain, when you get to Britain, that it will stamp. So there was a freedom, in that. So many of my generation felt that was what is going to continue.
Hi, I'm Tolulope, and I am catching up with Dad on just this 70-year journey, and so much to learn, a lot of lessons. And this part, I want to just share thoughts on life generally, the world, and just changes that you've seen through the years. But I want to do a little trivia before we get into that. I want to ask you, what's the first exam that you remember you failed, and how did you react to it?
Okay. I remember I failed an exam when I was in university.
Okay.
And that was in my penultimate year.
Gosh.
And those days, once you fail a paper, that is that means you fail all.
Wow.
Even if you have 13 courses, once you fail one, in pharmacy, you
fail
so all. You have to do a new, you have to have an extra year.
Wow.
So that was what happened. I've never failed like that. So it was very, very devastating. But somehow God gave me the courage, and it's like you have B+ in almost all the other courses, and then this one course now costs you to. So, but it toughened my life to say that disappointments doesn't mean the end. And at that time, by God's grace, Christ was the succor and the support. So many of my mates could not believe, but that was also something that is not written in textbooks, but toughened my life.
Yeah.
To show that even when disappointment come, it can be God's way of blessing the person. And it did. It was a way of blessing me.
Oh, great.
I wouldn't have met my wife if I graduated earlier.
Oh.
So that was
wow. That's good. That's good. So if I can take you back to some of your earliest memories, being a young person, say for example in university in the 70s, and now you see, you have worked in a university, so you see young people who are it's like the world has gone full cycle, and what it is now to be a 20-something-year-old and all of that. What concerns your heart the most for young people? Like, when you just say, man, I was here some 50, 40-something years ago, what do you look at and, man, you just get worried for young people?
Yeah, well, I think many young people sometimes now don't think there's an absolute value to follow, that there's something called values to follow. And so quite a number of them, tend to think, want to get everything within a year or within a week, and yet there's a process. It's a process. So many of them are not patient. Many of them are not, also in terms of thorough in what they are doing. Many of them are not, so you find a lot of just wanting things instantly, as it were. So, and that means doing things that are maybe wrong. I see a lot of also many young people today want to be seen to be what they are not. Because maybe because of the social media, some will be, having different identities. They don't want to. Some don't even want to relate to where they're coming from. Some will put a white man's picture as if they are white people. So I say a lot of things that today is strange because they don't want to be themselves. So so those are some of the, and then of course also the immorality that is like people see it as if it's just a normal. And I look at something that if there's no restraint, even in those days, there are what you call that things that are restraining us. I mean, you are restrained by not just your conscience, you are restrained by society, you are restrained by everything. But now it looks like it's a very permissive society. People do anything they want to do. So there seems to be no absolute. So that is, and I accept people can then step back and say, wait a minute, where is the standard that I must follow?
Yeah.
Where is the standard that I must follow? And that can only come, to me, to my mind, it can only come from the Bible. Of course, there are many people also proclaim the Bible now, but they're not following that standard of the Bible. So it creates also a problem for people who are reading them. So so that those are the things I see in the world today. And people, there are many that are just copying what is going on in the world. Any weird idea, philosophies being copied blindly.
Yeah. If I can flip it on the other side and say, what advantages do you see now that young people have that, man, if you had this, you would have been grateful to have, like advantages that these times give young people?
Yes, there are several. And I think there's a formation right now, which was not there at the time. When I was in school, even up to Form 5, I didn't know anything about preliminary studies, that you can come to university directly and start another level. I mean, all we knew at that time was we must do A levels.
Okay.
I don't know whether I understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So all I knew was...
And that was just information.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of information. That you can take concession exam and go to university from 100 level,
Wow.
So we were thinking in one way, the way that was one of the things in the old times. But now there's a lot of opportunities, different ways, different opportunities that are available. In my time, there are only 5 universities in this country. So, but of course, at that time too, you can take advantage that you can get admission to any of them. You can as many of them as possible. It doesn't matter. But so there are many opportunities now, this formation age, where you can be serious with knowing what is happening in England and even writing papers now. Most of my mates, they can write a paper within 3 days. They can get it from them. They can get returns. And but in those days, you post, and then 6 months, the thing is still coming in the mail. So those are, it's a fast age now. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of opportunities that were not readily available to us at that time.
If I can make this maybe like a generational perspective now, I feel like from what I see with history, the generation maybe before your generation, I feel kind of gave maybe your generation things like independence as a nation. And so it was like generation before yours kind of fought for independence, gave that, and established some preliminary things and all of that. If I can make it a generational conversation, maybe just looking wider, what do you think are the advantages that perhaps my generation can leverage on from yours? Just things that you see, maybe like values, or that you just feel like your generation offers, and maybe also if there are things that you feel are like the failures of your generation.
Yeah, I think there are some values that my generation we saw things breaking down completely because there was maybe not because of, but we saw a lot of things just dovetailing. And maybe we did not perceive these things in time. We thought everything would be, we just continue like that. Immediately you graduate in those days, a car is waiting for you. I mean, car loan is waiting for you. So in those days, we don't need a visa to go to Britain. You just want to have your passport, and as a student, passport is free. So you just take your passport. Once you have your money, you can go one Friday and come back on Sunday.
Wow.
So it is in Britain, when you get to Britain, that you will stamp. So there was a freedom, in that. So many of my generation felt that was what is going to continue. But it broke down. So advantage of this generation now is that I think one can learn from those mistakes of the past. And also, not just also depend on education for education's sake. A lot of people now are also doing entrepreneurship right from school. So that means they can learn some things and be independent and make money even. But in my days, it is only when you have scholarship that you can go to university. If you don't have scholarship, even though the fee was, it's difficult. We depend on scholarships, but children now can do a lot of things, and still even pay their way to the university, if they want to, which wasn't so at that time. A lot of people were shut out from university because there was no scholarship, and if they don't have anybody to help them to pay for the university.
Okay, so one more question, just in terms of trends now, things that you see, there's a trend building here, just from what you've observed. Sometimes they say that history repeats itself, and sometimes it's just like, from what you can see a trend here. This is something happening here. Are there any trends that you see, just as you look at the world today, whether positive or negative, but things that you just see are trends and you're like, man, there's something happening here, either where the nation is or where the world is, or just what's happening with people, downtimes? Are there trends, positive or negative, that you just feel we can be aware of?
Yeah, I think one trend that I'm very afraid of is, the cultish nature of this present time. That people just follow, you can see many young people, there are what we call opinion leaders, or I don't know what there's opinion leaders, but there are celebrities. Influencers that they follow. And whether right or wrongly, they follow. So they don't have a mind of their own. I know that the trend is much more now than ever before. That time, at least you explore things for yourself, you're able to be yourself, but now there is, and maybe because this virtual nature of social media, a lot of people live unrealistic life. So that is a trend I see that is trending a lot right now. So you find some people, what they are is different from what they are when they are back in their privately. So, and the influence many of them are on is not biblical. It's not something that is sustainable. It's not something that that will last. So that I see as a major issue.
Okay. Finally, what's your biggest prayer for, say, your grandchildren?
Well, my biggest prayer is that God will fully formed in their lives. They will know Jesus for whom He is, because I see that He is the life, the way, and the truth. And no matter what you are, no matter what can happen, that is still the greatest thing you can be and can have that is sustainable. I remember the Rakabites that they just decided within Israel that they will not be moved by the immorality of the days of Ahab. They will stand alone and be true to what their parents have given them. That is my prayer for grandchildren, that they will stand by the truth, no matter the wild thing that is going on. And there are so many wild things that are going on in the world.
Yeah.
Educational sector, everything, not just abroad, but also here in Nigeria, it is coming. So that they will stand true and be found to be true. And because ultimately, that is what can build, what can make them stand, in life. All other things will go away, will come and go away, but that is the ultimate in life.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. It's good to hear your heart, and very inspiring also. Thanks for living that journey and sharing out of it. It does mean a lot. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.